You can tell the emails that are sent and they just change the name. And it's a generic email. If you're really interested specifically to that school, make it known that you know something about that program because now it does feel more genuine.
And you're posting every day, and you are posting the one-on-ones and the workout clips, and you're staying top of mind. Like, this is how you stay in front of coaches, right? Let's not be an idiot on social media and post guns, alcohol. That's the fastest
Correct.
way to get off the board instantly.
Yes.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just £5,700, myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I, I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans. Let's walk through kind of like your process of building, right? So you've got this team like right before the season, so I think recruiting at that point was pretty shot. But this was your first
Right.
real cycle, right, of having the full year. So
Yeah.
kind of walk me
Yes.
through your process of recruiting and building the team.
I think the first thing you want to look at is, okay, you want to bring in young men who are passionate about their education and wanting to graduate.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the first thing on your list is, hey, these young men here in this school here, it is about graduating and having a high academic um, background that you really want to graduate and have that kind of degree. So that's kind of the first thing that's on the board is those are the type of young men we have to go attract. The second thing, as I looked at it, is you don't have to travel far to be in, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Baltimore, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. You can go either direction, and within 5 hours, you've got a lot of football, that great football in that area. And so that was the other thing you looked at. And then just as you're looking at the landscape of college football and what was going on in with the portal and things like that, and just me growing up in the in the system and being around, great head coaches and Coach Tressel and
Yeah.
Coach Bowden and um, all those guys, um, you know, high school recruiting, and I look at, you know, what we built when I was at Youngstown State and what we were building at Akron and what we built when I was with Brady Hoke at Ball State. It was about recruiting high school football players. And where the portal was going, I felt like um, there were a lot of great high school players that were getting looked over. Uh, Guys that normally you probably wouldn't get, a three-star developed guy. And in 3 years, we have that guy. And I think those guys were getting looked over. And so, my thought process is where do we make our way at? And that's what we did. I'd say we're going to recruit high school players. And this past year we recruited. We had 23 freshmen sign with us. Even right now, going into 2025, we already have 8 freshmen that's already committed to us for the 2026 class. And so, that to me, I'm about building a program. I think that's what the our AD and our president has allowed us to do that. Where it isn't, hey, you have to, of course you want to have success and win, but
Yeah.
some places you got to win the national championship right now, or you're gone. And with our administration and our president AD, they've allowed us to go out and say, hey, go and recruit, those young men so that you can build a program, a long lasting program, the guys that will stay in your program for the next 3 or 4 years. And I understand with the portal, you're going to get guys that are going to get plucked, if they have a great year. But we feel like that's how we can build our foundation to this program, because you're going to bring in guys that you hope that can be around for the next 3 years, and that's how you build it. When you bring in a bunch of guys with 1 year eligibility left, it's hard to establish a program and build that culture that you're looking for, and that's what we want to do. So we're going to we're basically lay that brick by brick foundation on high school guys. And then the next phase of that would be, junior college guys that, are hungry to play, that you can bring in January and have them for at least January going in, where, some of these portal guys, if you heavy on them, some of them you're not going to get till June.
Yeah.
They don't get here till June. So if we can lay that foundation of high school players and junior college guys that we can get into the program in January, then they get to learn, the system. They get to learn our program. They get to learn, how we want things done. And so, that's the approach we're going to take when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, it's interesting, the junior college, and I definitely I want to get back to that because I think that's a good topic that we don't really talk that much about on this podcast. So I think that'll be good. Going back to high school, it sounds to me like when it comes to recruiting and as you're building this program, obviously high school is big because of, like you said, you could still get a lot of these, even like a 3-star guy at this level, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Um, you said the first thing is like, obviously you go to a really good academic school, right? Like you've got, Villanova, Elon, some really good programs, Stony Brook, right? This is a really
right.
good conference, and all the schools are really, really good. And I'm not just saying in football, but just academically, like really good academic schools, big
Yeah.
time schools. So when you're recruiting players, walk me through kind of your criteria. Is it like, obviously they got to be able to play at the FCS level, but like,
Right.
is it GPA, and then like what are you specifically looking for as you build your program? I know GPA. What else are you really looking for? What's important to you and the staff?
Definitely just one, somebody that loves the game of football. Somebody who you can see has that passion, that wants to love the game, that plays the game with emotion. Not so much emotion, because we talk about emotion and passion. We want guys that play with passion. So again, as you sit down, of course, the first thing you're gonna do is can he play? That's going to be the number one thing is, okay, can he play? And then after that, yes, then you're going to say, okay, where is he at academically? Because again, you can have a guy who's academically, but is not a great player. Because at the end of the day, you still want to win. So again, it's hey, let's look at where can he play? He can play. Okay, where is he at academically? All right, here he is academically. So okay, those two things check the box. But then just the right fit. We're looking for a guy who is self motivated, a young man who has the passion of being the best player that he can be. We make sure we talk to the not just to the coach, but people in the building, people in the community. To know who he is, because that's big for us. Are you trying to do things, volunteer in the community? Because again, that shows kind of your character, and character is important, as you
Of course.
recruit these young men. What kind of character do they have? Because again, you can have a great player, but is he selfish? Does he put the team first? And so there's those intangible things that you want to look at. when you're watching a young man and you're recruiting a young man and you get to know him. And I think that's the biggest thing is you have to start recruiting, especially the high school young men. What you get a chance to do, you get a chance to kind of know who they are because you start recruiting some of them because they come to your camp, as sophomores, coming to your camps or freshmen, and you kind of just track them. You track them all the way through. You get to see them, and I think the other thing too, 'cause it's a new era. Social media. We'll look at their social media pages and see kind of how they're moving on their social media page, because all of that stuff is going to matter to us. And so, it's all those little tangible things. I tell guys the football part is the easy part. If a guy can run, tackle, jump, throw the ball. It's those other things that make you say, okay, yes, let's recruit this young man because he has these criteria that we're looking for that are just outside of being able to run, catch, tackle, and throw.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like for you, those are you got to have grades, but you also got to love football and you got to be a high character guy, right? So how do you when you say I love this because the social media thing is important, right? And like a lot of kids don't use social media as much as they could because like the way that I teach it is like, hey, use social media to check the boxes for coaches, right? Like,
Mhm.
and your boxes are pretty similar to a lot of the coaches that I interview, which is like you got to have grades, you got to be able to play, right? And you got to be a high character guy. And you could check those boxes by posting on social media, right? Like obviously you got to no,
Yes.
not
Yeah.
you can't completely check them, right?
Right. Right.
But you get in front of the coach consistently and you're walk me through like are you the one? I know you have a team obviously that's all doing a lot of
Right.
the social media, but is that something you preach with your team to like, hey, follow these guys that you're interested in? Get to like how are you using social media to be able to check those boxes?
Yeah, we do. Each position coach. Again, our recruiting coordinator does a great job. Delbert does a great job of one setting kind of, hey, here are the guys football wise that we think that have the grades, have the football, and then our position coaches, they follow those guys and kind of see how they move in social media and what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're posting. And so they do a lot of that, and I do too. I don't mind. Once we really hone in on a guy like, hey, coach, we really like this young man, then I'll jump on and follow and kind of see, how he's moving and the things that he's doing. And so, it's kind of built that way to each coach, and we sit down as a staff on Wednesdays, and that's kind of our recruiting day to kind of, okay, where are we at with this position or with this player? And some coaches are like, coach, I'm getting off of him because I just don't like what I'm seeing, and so hey, okay, let's move on. And then there's some that you kind of like, I'm not sure, but you just keep staying with him, and it's like, okay, he may not be exactly, but character wise, he's a guy that you could win with down the road because that he's going to be all in, and so you can work with that guy, and so some guy, they move up and down on the board
Yeah.
based on just different things that you may see or hear guys doing.
If you're already spending thousands on personal trainers, nutritionists, private schools to help your son live his dream of playing college football, but he's not getting the exposure he deserves, and you don't want to let him settle for average, then you're going to absolutely want to be at this live training that I'm doing where I'm going to share with you exactly what you can do to help your son to start getting 5 responses from college coaches every single day, from how to properly set up his social media profiles to when and how to post to actually send the right messages to the right coaches so that they actually respond, and how do you respond when they do respond. So you don't have to spend thousands of hours trying to figure it out because you probably don't have the time, and so that you have everything you need to help your son be successful. So you're absolutely going to want to leave there. I'll leave a link below where you can register. Look forward to seeing you there. Yeah, I love that. So I want to stay right there, Trenton, for example, for a second, because I know a lot of our viewers fit that category, right? They reach out to us. and we're pretty tough. Like our head coach, his name's Brian. He was the director of recruiting at Arkansas, but he's been doing it for 15 years. He came over with us, and so we'll grade players, and we're pretty tough. Like to get an FCS grade, you've got to be like, I mean, it's the top. You're elite. You know what I mean? You're a really good player. And so a lot of the players that listen to this are that FCS grade or some G5, some D2, some NAIA, but that FCS grade comes up a lot, right? And so for you, that player where they're like D2 FCS level, but they got a 4.0 and they're just super high character guy and they want it and they want to be a part of a program and they want to stick there for a long time. Like that's a lot of the listeners, a lot of like that reach out to us. Like they're that kind of
Mhm.
player. So how does a player like that, like you said, they might not be, the high end of FCS where they're G5 FCS level, you know what I mean? Where some of you guys might be able to snag them now. Um, but they're that high character guy that really loves football, that wants to be there. Like, how do they, really stay in front of like a staff like yours that, how can they stay in front of you, whether it's through outreach and what they're posting on social and just really showing you like, hey, we want to be there. Like, how can they do that with you?
And we get those guys, they, they send clips of them on X, Twitter. They send them, working out, at 10 o'clock at night. They're showing themselves, in the weight room. Hey, this was my max squat that day. They're showing themselves maybe at another camp that they went to, and they're showing, they got one-on-one clips and they're sending them to you. They're coming to your camp. We had 3 camps. They came to all 3 camps. And so when you see guys doing those kind of things, you notice, hey, you were at all 3 camps. Obviously, this is a place that you're interested in. We had a young man, that a running back, that, I mean, he literally probably every other day is showing himself filming, doing one-on-one workouts, and they're at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, where he's, doing drills and things like that. And again, you can tell that they're legit deals. And so, you see those guys doing things like that. So of course, you're like, okay, this guy really loves this game and is really hungry to show you that, given a chance, he's going to give you everything you got. So there's ways, like I said, you come to camps, you post things of, you're going to different camps and you're sending them, we're getting them so that we can see them. So, those are all types of ways that, you can stay in front of us if you're a guy that's, kind of on the bubble, that old lineman that's maybe 6'2", and, he's right on the edge where, they're like, if he was 6'4", he would maybe be. And again, I'm not that, but 6'2" and 6'4" is not that big of a
Yeah,
difference
but
when you're in the
but at the
three-point
D1,
stance.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but, you see those guys and you're like, okay, he's showing that, he's worked out, he's working out, he's been at other camps, and you get to see, just not at our camp, but hey, here's his one-on-one reps when he's at some other, Power 5 camp. He's showing, hey, this is me going against such and such. And so, all those things matter and are important.
This is so good, Trenton. Like I can't tell you how many times I tell them, like, guys, when you're doing outreach, coaches are gonna look back. They may follow you if they're interested. They might not be ready yet, but they may follow you. And that's awesome. That's
Yes.
what you want, because if they follow you and you're posting every day and you are posting the one-on-ones and the workout clips and the on-field trainings and a highlight here and there, and you're staying top of mind, like this is how you stay in front of coaches, right? Um,
Yes. Yes.
and obviously, like, obviously you want to do this only with coaches at the right level of play, right? You don't want to waste your time
Right.
But if you're at the right level of play, guys, you want to start that process with coaches is the best way to do it, right? And then from
Oh
there,
yeah,
then it's like cool. Then we can get into a conversation and then move down the process from there. But I just you said that you pointed it out, man, and I can't emphasize that enough to players today. And obviously we talk about the what to post, but also what the not to post. Like let's not be an idiot on social media and post guns, alcohol. Like that's the fastest
correct.
way to get off the board instantly.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes,
and
yes.
Brian
Yep.
always says this to all our guys too, man, because like they'll post really good on X and then they'll go on Instagram and TikTok and post the other stuff. I'm like, coaches are gonna go right.
Right.
They're going there too. It's not just on X.
Right.
So
Yes. And we have, level of coaches that, I'm not on Instagram, but we do have coaches, we have GAs, we have volunteers, so some of our volunteers are maybe younger coaches, but they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. And so yeah, we may not, all of us may not, but it only takes one coach on your staff that has those things, and then you post it and it's like, nah, that ain't it.
yeah, that's it. That's the fastest way to get right off a board. So
Yes,
so
it is.
let's say a player reaches out, coach is like, okay, I want to check this kid out. I'm not ready to have a conversation with him yet, but let me just check this kid out. They follow him on X, they see him posting, they're like, wow, I kind of like this kid. I think he might not be there yet, but he could be somebody we offer, right? And like you said, also as a sophomore, like I want to see progression over time, right? So just because we're not ready as a freshman or a sophomore doesn't mean we don't want to get coaches to follow us now so that they can see us grow, right? But let's just say, it's a junior and they're on the bubble, but they keep posting, they're staying in front of you, and now there's interest, right? What's the best way for a player to reach out where it's not annoying, but it's also like, hey, I know you've been, I'm interested. I want you to know I'm interested. And they're doing the posting. What's the best way to go about doing that? Whether it's you or obviously you're the head coach, but maybe the area coach that's recruiting their area that they found out because they did their research and they asked the right questions. What does that kind of look like? What's the best way to do that?
I would say, again, if they're following you, hey, coach, here's a clip of our scrimmage. Kind of really reach out and say, coach, really appreciate you following me back. I just want to send you a scrimmage that we just had. Here's my updated highlight tape that we just put together. Coach, as we're getting closer to, the kickoff of the season, coach would love to come and visit for a home game. Those are the things that, trigger us to say, okay, he's sent his, like you said, guys that are juniors. Hey, they're about to have scrimmages right now, high school. Hey,
Yeah.
here's first half of our scrimmage from last week. After the season is over, their sophomore year going into their, hey coach, here's the my highlight tape from my sophomore season. That, or a highlight tape from my junior season, and wanted to send it to you so you have it. Because again, instead of us having to ask for, hey, can you send, when you starting to send that, oh, okay, he definitely is interested because he's making a a strategic effort to, hey, coach, here's my highlight tape.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, and then as we get close, hey, coach would love to come to a home game. When are you guys inviting, your junior class, or when are you guys having invites, for home games? I would love to come and see the atmosphere and learn more about your program. Those kind of things, help the coach say, oh, hey, we've got people that are interested in coming to games. Hey, he's already sent me some clips from scrimmages this past summer. He just redid his highlight tape. And so those are the things that, our coaches look for guys to send, because again, you're doing your part to let us know that you're interested in us.
Yeah. Yeah. And also like one thing that I'm big on, I'm curious to your thoughts is like is instead of, especially when it comes to the emails and stuff like that, just like blasting, like where it doesn't even look like it was meant for that coach. You know what I mean? Versus
Right,
versus
right,
really like, hey, let's target schools that can actually offer me. That's number one. And number two,
right,
when reaching out to those coaches, really customizing it and making it specific so they know like you took the time to send this to me because you're interested in what
right.
I have
Yeah,
going on. Like,
yeah. You can tell the emails that are sent, and they just change the name, and just it's a generic email, and they just take out Coach Smith and put in Coach Boykin, take out Coach Boykin,
right.
put in Coach Jones, and you can tell, those guys compared to guys that have done their research on about Hampton and the conference or a motto or something. You can tell the difference. So again, if you're really interested, really specifically to that school, make it known that you know something about that program, because now it does feel more genuine.
Yeah, I love that, man. So I like that the example you just gave there, right? Because like it's always like, okay, well then how do I customize it, right? Well, it's like just go to the coach's bio, right? Like learn a little bit about the coach. You know what I mean? So
Right.
what
Yeah.
do you like to see in those messages, right? Is it like about more about the school? Is it more about the football program? Like what when you get a message, what are you like, okay, I like this is like geared towards us. This kid wants to be here specifically. Like what do you
Right.
like to see?
Just if he's talking about hey, I love the conference that you guys are playing in. I understand, I've done my research and understand the academic requirements to come there. Something about hey, coach, I did my research and saw that coached in Ohio at one point. I'm from Ohio. Just it don't have to be a lot, just a little something that says you did a little bit of something to really know about, what we're doing, and those will grab you. Those, oh, he's from Ohio. He knows I'm from Ohio and he's from Ohio, and so they'll put that in there, or something about hey, I know you guys have a great aviation program, and that's something that I'm interested in because we do. And so you want to be in an aviation, and we have a great aviation program. Well, I know you've done your research because you're like, hey, you're one of three schools that I'm really interested in that have an aviation program, and so, oh, okay, you've done that. Um, or if you know somebody here, hey, I played at the same high school that X played at that's on your team right now. Oh, okay. So and again, it doesn't have to be a lot, but those little things make a difference than just saying, "Hey, I'm a 6'4" quarterback that threw for 218 yards every game and 40 touchdowns, and I like you guys' program."
Yeah. No, you don't.
Like, okay.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point, man. I feel like this is a really good topic because, like, for you, I mean, I look at it for me, right? If I get an email and I could tell it's not to me specifically, I'm out. I'm already out. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if it's an
Yes.
email and they like took the time, they knew about like what's going on, I'll give it a minute or two. And that's what you're looking for a
Right.
coach. You want a coach to
Right.
reply to you, you
Right.
want a coach to watch your video. You have to give them a minute
Right.
or two if you want them to give you a minute or two. Am I wrong on that? Or it's like,
No, not at all. And I also think that I really think that these young men need to really say, okay, where do I want to, where do I want to play? Where am I at? And it may be 10 or 12. Sometimes I think they try to reach out to 30 to 40 schools. Um, and I think that's doing too much. I think you need to look at, and again, and I'm not talking about the elite guys. I'm talking those guys that are right there on the bubble of, hey, am I a D2 guy? Am I a FCS, FBS? Or kind of, I'm right on that bubble. You know, if do your research and say, hey, there's about ten schools that I'm really kind of interested in, and I think those are the ones that I kind of want to focus on at the beginning. Now they can change, but I sometimes I feel like they're they're making themselves too thin because they're trying to say, okay, I'm gonna send stuff out to 30, 40 schools. Um, and it's like, well, what are you looking for? Is it about, a certain degree that you're looking for? Is it a certain location that you're looking for? Is it a certain system that you're looking for? Because again, are you sending stuff? And I'm just saying, I'm a wide receiver. If Army and Navy is not like, are you just sending them just to be sending that stuff out there? Like, what are you looking for? What kind of system do you really want to play in? Do they fit the system that you're looking for? Location wise, are you a Midwest person that says, I really want to stay in the Midwest, but you're sending stuff out to California and Nevada and it's like, but is that really where you want to go? And so I think you really need to kind of narrow it down to say, okay, let's start here. Let's start to these 10, 15 schools that kind of fit what I'm looking for and see what kind of response that I get back. Now, if you get none back, okay, then maybe I need to reevaluate again what I'm looking for. But if I send 15 out and seven of those come back to saying, oh, okay, we're interested in talking. Oh, okay. Now there's seven right here that let me kind of hone in on these seven. And I truly believe that um, that's a better way than just kind of mass mailing
Yeah.
30, 40
Yeah,
schools.
the mass mailing is a nightmare. That's the one way to get a coach to just hit delete, It's like, and
Yes.
have no
Yeah.
interest. And I think you said it of like
Yeah.
knowing what you want up front, and then targeting schools you know have that, and then when you reach out to them, personalizing it with that, right? Of explaining why
Right.
that you're
Yes.
interested, and that's the best way to get a coach to have interest, to take the time out of their day to watch your video, right? Because you get hundreds of emails and DMs and all this stuff. It's like a day, right? So how are you going to
Right.
stand out in order to get a minute of that coach's time, right? Because everybody's super busy, right? And so if you want to do
Right.
it, you do what Coach Boykin just said here, which is, you guys, if you're going to reach out, customize it, explain why you want to be there, right? And I think that's a really huge point and something that I try to emphasize a lot. And then every day, like friends and coaches, and they send me an email, and I'm like, I have no idea why a kid would ever say, like, what are we doing here? So, anyways, but let's talk your process. So, let's say your kid reaches out, customizes it, watches videos, an FCS level player's got a 3.8 GPA. You're like, we like this kid. We might not be ready right now. We're looking at some other guys at that position, but we're interested. What's your process from there? Is it typically you want to talk to them? Like, what does that process kind of look like?
Yeah, well, we usually try to start off with the head coach or a position coach. Who's the best person to talk to get a feel, for the young man. So, and we kind of try to go to the coach first when we can, just to kind of, hey, we've been following, your player. Just kind of wanted to get a feel from you, kind of tell us a little bit more about the young man. Who is he? What's he about? His character, his home life, and things like that. So we'll try to start off with the position coach or the head coach if we can get that information and kind of talk to them first because we kind of want to get to know them through their coach and just kind of say, hey, this is where we are. Hey, we like him, or he's a guy that we're interested in, and kind of go that route first. And then once we kind of establish, at least 2 conversations with the coach, and then we kind of move on to, all right, let's talk to the player now. But it's good to get the information from the coach and kind of have that background and kind of see, if it's matching what the young man is saying. Hey, this is what the coach is saying about him. This is what the coach thinks about him, and then now have that conversation with the student athlete and kind of see if they match each other.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I think you're one of the first coaches um that goes to the coach first. A lot of them that I talk to, they'll talk to the player first. That's interesting. What if you can't get in touch with the coach? Because a lot of head coaches, sometimes they're just not into it at all, or
Right, right.
do you just at that point you go to
Um,
the player or
Yeah, then at that point, we get to the player. And again, it's about building a relationship, one of the things we're always going to ask, who is the one person you go to when you're trying to make decisions. And we try to reach out to that person as well. Like, hey, my uncle is a guy, my trainer is a guy that I, kind of rely on. Hey, what's his name? I'd like to talk to him. Um, and so if we can't get to the coach, then when we talk to the young man, we want to know who is the decision helps him make decisions. Um, and so we want to get to that person as well. If it's mom and dad, then hey, love to talk to your mom and dad. If it's a relative, if it's a trainer, we want to talk to them because I just don't want to just talk to the young man and that's the only information that we're getting is from him. Um, the coach can or the mentor, whoever
yeah.
can give us some little insight on the young man also, and I think that's very important to have some insight on that young man more than just getting it from him.
Yeah. And when are and that information is more like character check, like what kind of kid is he? Does he show up on time? Like what are you looking like that? Is
Yeah,
that kind of stuff?
yeah, that kind of stuff, and just and again, um, what's it going to be? We're and again, all different things. Hey, he lives in Florida. We're in Virginia. How realistic is it? Would he move from Florida, to Virginia? Would he move from, Indiana to Virginia? Kind of. What do you think? Coach. You know what? I don't know. I'm surprised that he would be interested in you guys because you know this is what his home life
Mm.
is, and I'm shocked that he got in touch with you guys because I wouldn't think he would leave and go that far away from home. Oh, okay. So that gives you a little insight. So when you're talking to the young man, you have that like now, hey, have you thought about, hey, Hampton is 11 hours from your home. How is that going to affect you with, you know, and different scenarios, whatever it is. Hey, you're the man of the house, it's a single home, whatever that, scenario can be. Because yeah, young man, yeah, 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 yeah. And then you talk to somebody and they're like, man, I'm surprised that he would go to Virginia or man, coach, that kid will go anywhere. He just
Yeah.
wants to get a good education and go play some football. So those things really do come in factor for us because you do get a little bit more insight on who the young man is. Because sometimes they're just excited, like, oh, okay, a coach is talking to me. I want to get a D1 scholarship, and it's like they're going to jump on it, but have they really thought about all the other things? If you come to Virginia, if you come like those are things that you know you can get from talking to those guys. So it's not so much always like check the box character wise, but just some different things like hey, coach, his parents are older people. They really can't travel to games, and so I'm surprised he would want to go that far
Yeah.
because I don't know if they can travel and see him play. And so you can have those conversations with the young man and just kind of talk to him about, hey, really do your due diligence, and if this is a place that you could see yourself going, knowing some of your family situations that are going on in your life right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Okay. It's good stuff, man. I wanna just I know we're wrapping up here, but I wanna hit on camps because you mentioned camps a couple times early on, and it sounds like you have a camp, or probably multiple camps. What's your
Yes.
process around recruiting with camps? Are they indie camps or do you guys go into mega camps? Like, what's your kind of process when it comes to recruiting and using camps?
We had one mega camp here. Sound Mind, Sound Body came here, and then we had two of our own camps here.
Okay.
The thing that we like about the camps when you get here is we really just get the hands on and really get to see you run, move up close and personal. And those are the things, and we've done it, last year when we signed those 23 freshmen that came in this year. Five of those guys that came were guys that we offered at camp because we got to see them up close and personal, and you got to just see them run and move, and again, you got some guys that are quarterbacks, like one young man that we signed. He was their best athlete, and so he played quarterback for them, but he's a wide receiver. And so we got a chance to see him do wide receiver stuff, knowing that he wasn't going to be a quarterback. But if you just watched his highlight film, you would be like, we're probably not going to take him at. He's a good athlete, but we wouldn't have took him at quarterback. But because he came to camp and did all the wide receiver drills, then it was, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna take him
Yeah.
at wide receiver. But if we would have never saw him in camp and he was just a quarterback because he's a 5'9" quarterback, great athlete, but not a quarterback,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a great athlete.
Yeah.
But we got to see him play wide receiver, so it made it easy for us to offer him at the camp, saying, okay, we don't have to guess if he can play wide receiver at this level. Um,
Is he proved?
Off of his
Yeah.
highlight, we got to see him do it in person. Um, so all those things, you get to see true height and weight, on guys. You get stuff that they're 6'6", 6'7", and they show up being 6'2", 6'3".
Don't lie,
So
guys.
you
Don't
get,
freaking lie.
yeah, no, yeah, you don't, yeah, that you don't have to lie. If you're a 6'3" old lineman, be a 6'3" old lineman, and let the coaches decide for themselves what they want to do. Because I think what happens, um, because you said you're 6'7" and you come to 6'3", you've already kind of made the coach go, and you could be a great player,
Yeah.
but because you said you were six
It's
seven
character.
and walked in at 6'3", now it's like, I don't know, and so it throws you off. But if you come in and say you're 6'3", then you're playing. Our O line coach is like, man, I know he may only be, and they say only, but hey, he's six, but this guy can play.
Yeah.
And you just look at him differently because he said he was 6'3", came in and worked his tail off, and you're like, man, this guy can flat out play. Compared to you saying you're 6'7" and you walk in at 6'3", and now you're already looking at him kind of sideways, and so you're really not getting a great evaluation because you were thinking this guy was going to walk in at 6'7".
Yeah. 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 Don't lie, guys. Coach, and also too, like a lot of guys, they'll lie about their height or their speed, and any good evaluator is going to look at game film and know right away, like this is not, this isn't it. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
uh,
Correct.
so
Correct.
lying is just not worth it. So, Coach Boykin, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Quick question for you. This is my last question. For parents out there
Yeah.
that are, learning the recruiting process and for players that want to play at the next level, what advice if any, would you like to leave them with as they're going through the recruiting process?
Man, I would just say, again, really sit down and really think and talk about, where you want to be. Um, if you're right there on the bubble, I would say don't eliminate D2, don't eliminate the FBS or FC, make sure you're going out there and saying, hey, look, I'm a I'm a I'm gonna go visit some D2 schools, some D3 schools, some FBS, some FCS. Like don't just say, hey, I can only play at the Big Ten or the SEC, and then you're disappointed that those schools aren't coming around. Kind of dabble in a little bit of each. I'm not saying a bunch, but kind of cover each division so that you kind of have an idea of like, okay, what is that D2, what is D3, what is FCS, what is FBS, and kind of have an idea of all the different levels. Sometimes parents, because of TV, well, the only thing that's out there is Division 1. And if you're not playing in the Power Five, then there's no good football out there. And that's not the case. There's a lot of good football out there.
Yeah.
I coached at Wayne State D2. We played for the D2 national championship when I was at Wayne State. I'm from Ohio. Mountain Union is one of the top D3 programs out there. So there's some great football out there at all levels. Don't cut yourself short by thinking only thing that's out there is Division 1. Do your due diligence and really find out that there's good football at every level.
And also, like, Division 1 doesn't just mean SEC. Like you're Division 1, but it's FCS Division 1, which is still
Right.
amazing, by the way. Like, if you look
Yes.
at players that
Yes.
play FCS, I mean, these guys, I mean, what is there, 20,000 high schools? Like, every player is the best player on their team, but these are like there's only 5,000 like scholarships every year at the D1 level. We're talking about the best of the best of the best of the best players on every team. You know what I mean? What you see in the
Correct.
SEC and you know what I mean? Like that's the 0.018% or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so this is it's still amazing football. And even Division 2. First of all, any level of college football is absolutely awesome. And it's a great experience. And playing football at the next level is just amazing. Just obviously you were a player too. But I think that's great, man. Of just knowing like, hey, and like one of the things I talk a lot about, Coach Boykin, is just getting your film evaluated. You know what I mean? By someone who has college football recruiting experience that could be honest with you and not fluff you and lie to you. And will just tell you like, hey, here's where you're at. Here's what you need to do to the next level.
Right.
And then you can spend your time visiting schools, reaching out to schools at that level where they actually where you can play. You know what I mean? Versus,
Yes. Yes.
everyone's like, well, you went in the SEC and you're, yeah, but I didn't start there. Like, that's not the first place I went. I actually went on a visit to Mount Union, by the way, out of high school. Went
Okay.
on a visit there.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Awesome school. But anyways, like, so I just want people to know, like, just because you don't start at a high school signing a $300,000 NIL deal, at Ole Miss, that doesn't mean you can't end up there later. You know what I mean? So,
That's
um,
right. That's right.
but this is awesome,
Yes.
Coach Boykin. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day right now, especially with camp and everything. We really appreciate
It's
it.
been awesome. Yeah, I appreciate this. It's been great.
Cool. Well, appreciate you being here, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.